I truly believe that I was born in the wrong generation. And as time passes by, it actually proves to me that I'm actually right. I was born in 90s, early 90s, and dating back then wasn't as bad as like right now in 2025. But the problem is that in the 90s and 2000s, I was just a kid. I was just a kid. I was under the age of 18. And yeah, I think in 2010, I was, in 2010, I was like 18. Um, so yeah, by 2010, it started like really going downhill. It's everything started to become really bad. All these social media took off. People became, more of narcissists that they already are. People have became selfish and self-centered and unbearable to be around. Now, don't get me wrong. In 2010, it wasn't that bad, but it was bad, but it wasn't terrible. You know. Um, so as the years go by, it's just like it got worse and worse. Obviously, more dating apps came, Instagram came, and Snapchat. All these bullcrap right after each other, and I noticed that the the dynamics have been changed. The dynamics of people interacting with each other changed. Dating has changed, and everything got worse. Everything got worse, and people don't understand. Like, it's not all about social media. People think like social media is everything, but I'm telling you, man, social media is just a distraction. Social media is something that you shouldn't be care about. Like, social media is just one of those things that it keeps your mind busy from the reality. you know and unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand, especially women. Like, back then, when I was a kid, I didn't know better. Like, when I was a kid, I would say when I was like 12, 13, I kind of like my eyes kind of opened up to a lot of things, but I still didn't know a lot of things, like, because, obviously I didn't have no guidance. Nobody was telling me the truth. Everybody was lying to me. Everybody was you know, trying to distract me from the reality. And that's how I grew up. I grew up with, a bunch of deception and bunch of delusion, and I had to go through life to understand all those stuff. I have to go through life to exactly know how life works. And that took me not too long to understand, because when you go through like constant bad experiences in doesn't matter, in a short or long period of time, you kind of like start it kind of like changes up your mindset. It kind of changes up your mindset, and it kind of opens up a lot of truth about the word to you, that this is not the word that we're actually um believed. This is not the word that we actually taught, that it's all great and everything, because it's not great. Like, nothing about this word is great. And as far as my dating life, I wish I was I really wish I was born in like maybe 80s, bro. Like, at least like in 70s, at least 70s. So I want if I was born in 70s, I don't think I would have like a bunch of problem dating. I think I wouldn't have like a bunch of problem like making friends and all that stuff like I do right now, because I struggle a lot right now. Like I struggle with dating, with finding friends, with interacting with people and all that stuff. And I really wish I was those one of those old school people, you know. But unfortunately, you know, I was born in a generation where everybody's out for themselves. I was born in a generation like social media like took over everything. Social media is brainwashing people. Because back then there was no social media. Back then it was only like a telephone, you know, and telephones didn't have internet. So I think back in '70s there was no such thing as like cell phones. So, but you know, so dating was way better back then. You know, dating was way better because everything was organic, everything was natural. You know, everything was in person. Like you get what you see. You know, and you know everything was much better. I wasn't gonna say like everything was great or everything was perfect, because back then it wasn't perfect too. You know, back then it wasn't like back then it had its own problems, but it's not nearly as much as now. You know, but you know back then at least we could interact with people easily. Back then we didn't have to stress too much about what we have to say and all that stuff. Back then we didn't have like no stress about like, oh my god, you know, am I gonna get flaked on, am I gonna like get ghosted, am I like I have to compete with like 10 million other men and all that stuff. Like we didn't have like it wasn't like that back then, you know. That's why a lot of people coupled up, you know, back in the day, you know. And that's why a lot of people uh born in like 60s and 70s, you know, they still together because you know they know the dynamic. They know like they were born in a better like world. They were born in a better generation. You know, they were born in a generation that not everything was temporary, you know? Like nowadays everything's temporary. Like relationships are temporary, friendships are temporary, conversations are temporary, uh family is temporary, your car is temporary, your clothes are temporary, everything, your cell phone, your job, the school, everything is temporary, man. Like nothing is permanent. And that's what makes people go crazy, you know. And a lot of people unfortunately live in delusion, you know, and they don't want to wake up to this shit. Like I don't understand how come like some people go through stuff constantly and they still cannot learn their lesson. You know, they still cannot see the truth. Like they cannot, like they don't want to question stuff. They don't want to sit down and say like, hey, something is wrong with this world. Something is like not right about people. You know, something is not right with people. You know, and they don't want to sit down and think about that. You know, they just want to go with the flow. You know, and they just pretend that everything is great. And like I mean everything is not great, man. Like if you think everything is great, man, something is wrong with you, because nothing is great. As the time passes by, you know, everything's becoming more and more worse. You know, everything has become it's just like it gets to the point that you know you can't trust people. You can't do anything, you know. Like in this generation it's so hard to make friends, man. Like it's so hard to find a date. Like you know, like you want to find a date, and guess what, you have to compete with men all over the world. like like a girl who's like average, you know, a girl who's like below average, she has access, like instant access to a man across the world, across the globe, you know. And with one press of a button, she can get that. And you're just gonna be like, you're just gonna be completely invisible, you know? Like, it's just one of those things that you just don't want to try anymore. You just don't want to like be bothered with it anymore. Like, you understand, especially as an average guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially me, you know, like, I'm not super handsome, I'm not super tall. You guys already know that. Like, I'm not super tall, I'm not like the most charismatic person. I'm not the, you know, I'm just like, overall, I'm just very basic and average, you know, like, and this word in 2025 that considered as lame, that considered as ain't shit, you know, and that considered as undesirable, and that considered as like you know, loser. And back then, if I was average, like back in like 60s and 70s, if I was average, if I was like not 6 feet tall, you know, if I was just a regular guy, you know, if I wasn't like a millionaire or something, you know, it wouldn't matter, because, you know, people will still accept me. At least, like, I'm not saying everybody would accept me, but at least like a good portion of people would actually accept me and overlook those flaws, you know. But nowadays, any little flaw about you is like, nope, that's it. It's a done deal. Like, any little flaw about yourself, you know, and you know, it's just like, it becomes to the point that you don't want to do anything, you know. It becomes to the point that, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of you trying? You know, you have to compete with everybody. You have to go to gym. You have to like uh you have to do a bunch of things. Like, you have to fix your personality. You have to get more confident. You have to have hobbies. You have to have this. You have to have a good job. You have to have a big social circle. You have to be more accepted. You have to be this. You have to be that. You have to be like muscular. You have to like take care of yourself. Like, wash your balls like 3 times a day. You know, like all that stuff. Like, it's just like puts you in a bad category. You know, it just puts you in a bad situation. And people don't understand why some people just giving up. You know, like, I think in this generation is so hopeless, man. Like, this generation is just hopeless, because you have a lot of people who are like, they don't work, or they don't want to work, and they expect everything out of like other people. You know, that's the problem. You know, if you don't want to work, that's fine. But why you want to like expect the whole world from another person? You know what I'm saying? Like, women don't want to work, but they expect like to find a millionaire boyfriend or husband. You know, they, like, other men, they don't work, but they want their friends to be like having nice cars, having like hyper cars and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, like, just take a look at yourself, man. Like, you're not accomplished anything, but you want to find a friend that has everything, has his life together, because that person is not gonna look at you, bro. That person is not gonna look at you. Like, a famous YouTuber, a millionaire guy is not gonna look at me. It's not gonna. It doesn't gonna like. He's not gonna be friends with me. I'm telling you, he's not gonna be. He doesn't even want to be around me, because he thinks like I'm gonna lower his social status. You know, I'm gonna lower his like fame or whatever, bro. Like, a guy like me should have other friends that are on my level, you know, that have like 9 to 5, that have cars, you know, that have like, or if they don't have cars, it's fine. It's just like, you know, they don't expect so much out of somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because I have friends like that too. But, you know, I'm thinking like, I was just totally born in the wrong generation, bro. Like, it's like, the prices of everything is like skyrocketed. Like, I mean, with all these tariffs and all that stuff, everything is going bad. Everything is like, I'm thinking like by next year, or maybe like in a few months, everything is gonna be so expensive that we can't afford anything, bro. We're not gonna afford anything. And I can't even like rent a place by myself, man. Like I can't even do that. Because like the rents are like astronomical, bro. Like why should I pay like $2,000 a month for just the rent, you know? Just for the rent. And this is not like a luxury place. It's a crappy place with your neighbors are a bunch of crackheads. You know, your neighbors are a bunch of like gangbangers and crackheads. You know, and you're gonna live in a tiny apartment, bro. Like tiny apartment that has nothing. You know, and like I said, just the rent is like $2,000 a month, and it's brutal, bro. It's brutal. Like I have to work like 3 jobs to have a roof over my head, have some food, and all my bills paid. Like what the hell? What about my enjoyment? What about like if I want to go out? What about if I want to have fun? That's why a lot of people don't have hobbies. You know, that's why a lot of men cannot have fun. You know, because all they do is work, man. All they do is work, and they can't catch a break, bro. And you know, you can't tell me like this life is great, bro. You cannot tell me this life is great, because life is not great. You know, and you know, it takes a toll on you, bro. It takes a toll on you, and it just like hurts your confidence, and it's just like a really bad deal. And a lot of times when people mention like what do you do for a living and all that stuff, it's just like it's just so exhausting, bro. Like everybody's asking like what do you do for a living, what do you do for, like what do you do and all that stuff, how do you get past in life. I'm like, dude, don't you understand what's going on in this life, bro? Like people are working like I don't know, 80-90 hours a week just to have their basic necessities, you know? Like it's crazy, bro. Like I work so much, and I feel like I'm not getting ahead, you know? And I'm not living alone. I live with my mom, but still, you know, I feel like I'm not getting ahead. You know, because like I have no support. You know, I have no support system. My brother, he works like 2 days out of the week. His paycheck is like he's making, bro. He's making like $150 a week. I'm like, what the fuck you gonna do with that money, bro? Like $150 a week. That's not even gonna cover like a couple of your bills. Like, oh my god. But anyways, I truly feel like this generation is the worst generation I ever seen, bro. This generation is like, it's so backwards. Everything is so backwards, you know, everything's so bad. Like dating is backwards. These women are like always dating these criminals and thugs and men who are like 6'5" only, you know, men who are like players. I think back then it was the same way, but guess what? Like women were more open-minded back then. Like I know back then women still like dating thugs and bad boys and men who are like 6'2", 6'3". But they were like a little bit more open-minded, you know. They were like, the thing is like women back then, they had options, but they didn't have options like if a girl that was living in America, nobody knew that girl maybe from another state or from another country. But nowadays, a girl that is living in America, the whole world knows her, you know? The entire planet knows her. Why? Because of social media. You know, she puts her picture on social media and now everybody knows who she is, where she lives, and all that stuff, you know? So as a result, more and more men are gonna thirst after her. So as a result, you're gonna have to compete with so many other men to get that one girl, and most likely you're not gonna get that girl because you're not the top tier guy, you know? Like back then, women wouldn't only go for top tier guys, you know? Women like back then give average guys a chance too. But nowadays, if you're an average guy, like you're invisible, bro. If you're an average guy, nobody's looking for you. If you're an average guy, these women, like, they don't want to breathe the same air as you, you know? Like, you're a disgusting human being, you know? If that, to them, you know? And you know, in general, back then people were nicer, you know? People were a lot nicer. They were like a lot more open-minded. But these days, like, everybody's so like selfish. Everybody's so like so self-centered. Everybody's such a narcissist. Everybody's like have such high expectations out of other people, especially women. Everybody's just so close-minded, you know? Everybody's so judgmental. And it gets to the point that you just don't want to go out anymore, bro. Like me, you know? I don't like to go out because I don't like to see these people, bro. I don't like to interact with these people. Like, I have a bunch of neighbors. I don't say hi to none of them, bro. I don't say hi to none of them. Like, none. And they don't say hi to me either. Like, we just pass by each other, you know? And not saying anything and not... I mean, back then, I guess, like, people were nicer, you know? So, like, back then, people knew their neighbors. They were nice to their neighbors, you know? They were nice to their peers and all that. But nowadays, everybody expects you to be nice, and if they're not nice, you have to deal with that, you know? It's just how it is, man. It's just so frustrating. This world is so frustrating to live as an average guy. Like, these days, like, if you're not a top tier guy, if you're not the top 10 or 20%er guy, you're gonna struggle heavily in dating, in finding friends, in having like career, like having fun, everything, bro. Like, it's just like it gets to the point that, you know, a lot of men will eventually have to self-delete, you know? A lot of men like myself have to self-delete because there's nothing for us here, you know? There's nothing for us, you know? Like, I was thinking about like self-deletion, you know? Like, I'm thinking about it every day. Like, I'm just thinking about it every day. Like, I'm almost in my mid-30s, you know? And I don't know, like, I just don't know how can I pass life past 35, you know? I don't know, man. I'm 32 now, but I don't know, like, I don't see myself being alive after 35, bro. But that's just me, man. Like, every day I wake up, I get frustrated because every day, like, it's another problem, you know? Like, it's with people. And it's a problem with people, bro. Like, it's not like problem that, you know, I have to go out and all that stuff. But whenever I go out, the problem created by people, you know, because like people always give you dirty looks and they're always judging you. They're always like questioning you. Women, like, they always mean mugging you. They always give you dirty looks. They always give you the look like you're a piece of shit and all that stuff. And they're thinking like they're queens, they're goddesses and all that stuff. They're thinking like they're female version of Jesus Christ. And they're so perfect and all that stuff just because a lot of simps and a lot of manginas are kissing their asses, you know? It's just like, it's just like such a messed up existence, bro. Like, back then, there was no OnlyFags, you know? Like, these women, like just create an OnlyFags, and now all of a sudden they become like strong and independent women just because like a bunch of simps are paying for them, you know? Back then there were no such thing as OnlyFags, you know? There was no such thing as Facebook. There was no such thing as dating apps. There was no such thing as Instagram, Snapchat, Telegram, all those bullcrap, you know? There was no such thing. Like, at that. So life was more simpler, you know? That's the thing. Life was more simpler than that. Now it's like life is so complicated, life is so complex that people are going crazy, you know? People are going nuts. And you can't tell me like there's nothing wrong with this war. I mean, something is seriously wrong with this war, bro. Like back then the price of everything was low, you know? Back then, like back in 70s and 60s, you know, price of gas was like, I don't know, was it like under $1 or something a gallon? Or maybe it was $1. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, nowadays you have to pay like what, $6 a gallon for a gas? Like it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. So by the time like you fill up your tank, it's already like 80, $90. It depends what car you drive. If you drive a truck, good luck with that. It's gonna be like about $130, $140, you know, for a full tank of gas. Like it's absolutely crazy. Like the price of groceries were lower back then. Like you could buy like a full basket of clothes. I mean, basket of like I said clothes, but like food and everything, like grocery, for like $20. But nowadays, nowadays, like with $20, you can't even buy like one item. Like one, like not even one item. Like it's crazy, bro. And it doesn't matter how much you work, how hard you work. It looks like your hard work, it never pays off because the prices of everything is going up. Everything is going up. Like if you want to buy a house, good luck with that. All these houses are becoming like $1,000,000. All of them. Like all of them become like $1,000,000. Especially like it depends where you live. I live in California, so don't go crazy on me, bro. I live in California, so I'm not living in the most cheap place, okay? And yeah, it's just like price of cars were lower. Like nowadays, your car payment is like what, freaking $600 on average. Like you pay $600 for an average car, like average car, bro. Like not even like a car that you want, like. And then on top of that, you have to pay the insurance. Insurance is like freaking expensive. I paid about like $400 for my insurance. Like it's crazy. Like I don't have no DUIs, DWIs. I don't have no ticket. I have no accident for the past like 6-7 years. I mean, it's crazy, bro. Like it's just like absolutely nuts. Like back then, you know, that's why like a lot of people back then had houses, you know, and all that stuff because they could afford it. You know, back then, one person could work and the whole family could eat, you know. But nowadays, the whole family has to work and still you're going to be hungry. You know, that's the difference, man. That's the difference. And because of this inflation and everything, you know, people's attitude and behavior changes, you know, towards each other. And it makes it harder and harder, especially with social media as well. So inflation and social media makes people be like less tolerant against each other. Like, so if like nowadays, if somebody doesn't like something about you, they just cut you off. Like it doesn't have to be like you're bothering them or something, you're annoying them. It's just like they notice something about you, like either you say one word or either your clothes are not name branded or something. They just cut you off, bro. And it's just like it's one of those things that people are becoming so like materialistic, you know? People are so materialistic nowadays. Like they wanna live in a fantasy land and they haven't achieved nothing themselves either, you know? Like people are struggling themselves, but they judging another person that is struggling. Like how? Like how's that possible? But that's people for you, you know, in 2025. And back then if you were working hard, you could get somewhere. But nowadays you can bust your ass and still being on the hamster wheel. And you get older and older, and nothing is getting better. But that was my little rant. If you guys enjoyed the video, like the video, subscribe to my channel if you're new. And let me know if you guys want to hear more longer rants, because I have a lot of ideas about longer rants, and I try my best not to make it boring. So, but with that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a good night, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.